Welcome to part three, you brave adventurers into the crazy mind of this rather unique fruitcake person who thinks that he can run in politics. What else? What else is on your list here for part three, Mister Dan? Come along, hurry up. Yes, well, thank you for listening. Yes, okay. Got my satirical alter ego here to be hypercritical of everything for us. That's quite useful at times. It's also quite psychologically fascinating about me. Anyway, so when it comes to the material and the communication strategy for this campaign, there is a Manchurian podcast. Manchurian Cast isn't terrible actually, but it's the Manchurian Candidate podcast, and it's on Spotify, and that features a lot of woke meltdowns and sort of insane rantings and ravings about my own personal victimhoods and whatnot. But here we are trying to be more serious on the general platforms, because I just feel like Spotify is where it's all this a lot of this is stemmed from, right? You know, listening to Rogan for hours on end and just forming a sort of trust bond with Rogan, and then chucking us all under the bus, right? I mean, like, it's been a rough time, hasn't it, to be a kind of normal, central, normal thinking, fair minded person in the world. But here we are. So, this is some policy that will hopefully float your boat and some radical ideas and whatnot. I'm just observing that even on the outside, people can make a dent on politics. So I've got a few ideas I want to put forward where there's sort of intersectional overlaps, right? So here it's transport, healthy movement, and industrial strategy, a crossover. It's like a political multiverse travel going on here. Holistic thinkers, right? So holistic thinkers thinking about solutions to stuff that fixes quite a few things all at the same time. I love stuff like that. And it is just a kind of sample. We're currently sitting in January 2025. I'm sort of overwhelmed by all the crazy stuff that's going on in the news, but trying to keep my head somewhat out of the cloud show and try and put forward some cool new weird stuff. And hopefully, I just hope I'll get better at this. Forgive the dodgy editing and the lacing, stringing things together and all that. In a weird order. I'm always like I'm completely narrating something that I took out of the image on one of the last slides and all that. So forgive me for all this kind of ropiness, but I'm hoping that you'll get the hang of me having to provide explanations for stuff on the screen, and that being a reasonable way to work with YouTube. I quite like it. I don't hate it. Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of a bit tedious and painful and absolutely suboptimal and, to be honest, cringe inducing, steeply embarrassing. I mean, these sort of weird, rambling, crazy ideas. I mean, honest to God, yeah, it's painful stuff. But look, man, look, mate, look, mate. Have you seen who is winning in politics at the moment? Have you seen the state of who is winning in politics right now? Dear listener, let me just consistently appeal to the person wise enough to be giving my stuff the time of day. Let me just assume that you're wise enough to consider, could you run on a platform, become a candidate? Could we just have enough of voting for these sort of slithery customers who are clearly turning us over and just start to take bold people from the community and put them into politics with the support of the community and deepen that trust and support in a way we've not had it done before? This is my proposal. Okay. Also, you know, I really am coming to this market with all these interesting market ideas, and I realized that, hey, politics is a great place for your ideas. I just realized cutting around a moment ago, and I thought to myself, it's kind of like a free market for ideas, really. I mean, I know they say that cheesy phrase, a free market for ideas, but it kind of is politics if you think about it, because ideas that might not necessarily fly fully in business, or actually in the case of the skullduggery ones, they've got some corrupt business plan, and then you get into politics to make sure that it works out fine. Well, I just think we should do that for cool, fun, nice things, making the world better instead of just tyrannical garbage. Right. Okay. So that's your introduction for this one. Tyrannical garbage. Tyrannical garbage. Well, I'll admit it's gone a bit far. As ever, me, the sort of recovering common garden Tory, kind of Tory from your town area, who's sort of a bit daft and has managed to backdoor fascism and put fascism in charge just by being stingy, in strong favour of tax cuts and sort of old manishness, sort of crabbedness and sort of mean stinginess. I think that there's hope for people like me in the community. So I'm here to lighten the mood a little bit, take the pressure off the whole broadcasting politics. Thanks for listening, and we'll move on to the next slide now, shall we, Mr. Dan? I think we shall, buddy. Let's go. Let's go on this wild travel, learn about all these weird things now they lock over. Right. Well, okay. Your PR team here speaking, Mr. Dan. What you need to do is make sure that your audience remember who you are, know who you are, and keep reminding them who you are, and keep reminding them what you stand for and what you want to happen, and keep your messaging. If you can do it in 3 words, flash even better, like a 3 word slogan. Get stuff done, or with stuffed, get stuffed. You Mr. Done, something like that, dude. So I get the point about yeah, keep reminding people who I am. So yes, I do that, but with the logos and the branding and the whatnot. Okay, here's a wee bit about my history, I guess. Political history is kind of where it's relevant, surely. Certainly on the big stuff, people tend to judge you on, right? So, Europe, where did I vote in Europe? I voted to stay in Europe. I thought it was a bad idea to Brexit. I kind of understood. Well, look, I felt the frustration and the real need to just, I don't know, express some deep frustration about the austerity features. I really came to terms, I think, at that point with understanding that the English working class, forgive me for speaking the English, in that I mean the Scots and the Irish and the Welsh and the French and all that sort of stuff. Yes, yes, the English, right? Forgive me, I didn't mean the English. I meant like people who live in England who are of a working class background. I think are among the most underrepresented people possibly in the world. A bit like a white American. I mean, like, so the wokey standard issue person like myself, like of I don't know leftism and whatnot, tends to not have any sympathy for those in these most vulnerable positions. Seems like sometimes there's the class divide on the left. So, like with a Bernie style candidate like myself, I had some of the kind of ambivalences about, well, God Almighty, these banks, European banks, pretty horrendous. The whole what they did to Mr. Varoufakis in Greece and all that. Like, look, there's issues and there's things and there's protectionism and there's well, if we had our own power on that front, we could do. Look, for a while there was even like people saying, well, I'm kind of lefty Brexit, right? Why? Because it was an idea that we could improve or inflate wages at home, probably, right? Fundamentally, um, in a variety of ways, we could improve conditions for the working people here. Perhaps was maybe the thought process. This is a good, thoughtful process to have. However, the overall net negative in destabilizing Europe has been an absolute disaster. So any kind of like sympathy with that kind of goes when we're now looking, staring eyeball to eyeball with Mr. Putin, basically with what feels like our pants down, and absolutely nothing to helicopter. Listen, why don't I just not finish that line of thinking? That's all. What were you going to say about choppers? No, don't say anything immature. Try to keep the content serious, for goodness sake. Right? Okay. Yes. Assuming what I'm trying to mean about how these kind of conflicts are often of a kind of peacock, what did you call it? You called it no. You told it this before. Peacock display. It's just a big peacock display, right? With the parade, with a big tank, huge missile, huge missiles. Get out of the way of my huge missiles. That's foreign policy, parades and stuff. Yeah, I know exactly. Well, um, look, I've lost my chain of thought because it got so immature there. Foreign policy is unite Europe. Foreign policy is Bernie is probably the president in exile. I would argue that I would argue quite strongly that he is the president in exile. I generally you'd see how I was most active on the internet in the early Bernie days. I was very convinced that if Hillary Clinton were to steal and in the case of what happened with all those people, Bernie not winning the presidential election and the presidential nomination, both of these things, I don't know if he would have definitely have beaten Trump actually, but I mean, I'd like to think that he would have done. Certainly, the strong evidence statistically was that he would have done. He's a consistently favored candidate, and probably the candidate to whom I look to for global leadership, for world leadership, certainly on issues of the Middle East. Bernie, in particular, because of his heritage, Brooklyn, New York, family fled the uh, situation in Europe at that time, of course. So solidarity to Mr. Bernie Sanders, um, and also the Human Traffic Workers Union is the other badge on this one, right? Apart from the dude trying to bend himself over stuff and look cool, and Mr. Burns there, Robert Burns, who's a relative of mine. Not a I said I think on one of my early ones I said he's a descendant of mine. He's one of my ancestors. It feels like that sometimes, eh? Robbie Burns. He's running through the veins of quite a few Scottish folk, I hope and so on. No one will believe, but he's a direct descendant, is what we are, and I am. My family, my dad is the middle name. Don't go Googling my family, leave my family alone. The UFO is here because candidates work. I'm rambling now, guys, so I'm going to try and move this slide along, but at least we get a little kind of icebreaker of me waffling and rambling, and I get to bounce stuff off. You know who? Well, you did. What do you mean? Me? Well, look, I mean, have you covered everything in the thing? The union. You're pro-union, but and you're a Bernie person. Bernie is pro-union, so we get that. You're just a lefty at the end of the day, but you like to think it's some kind of advanced lefty or something, a higher lefty. More left than left, I think. Is more green than green. But I'm more capitalist than capitalist. I think I'm a little bit more into businessy things. I've figured out where it feels honorable to make money in a way that I feel comfortable with. And I think that most people who find themselves extremely left or very, very leftist just haven't figured out holistic ways to use the free market in a way that it does create good, positive value for people around. And I'd like to promote that while we're here. So, a lot of what we're here to discuss, this kind of mixture of human health and well being, strategies on public health, strategies on public policy, and how we can create magical, wonderful growth in our economy, and also have an abundant and healthy, economic life with a pinch of capitalism and a sprinkle of socialism and a big fat dollop of pragmatism. Everything will absolutely be fine. Thanks for continuing to listen, that time, kind soul. Look, just move it along, for goodness sake. Pass the weed while you're on a break and all a break. Disaster. It's like this. This is what my coverage is like. Hey, look at that. Land's End to John O'Groats. Have you cycled from Land's End to John O'Groats? I have, yes. It was very cool. Yeah, it's great fun. And that's why I'm a bit of a bike, well, I've been a bike enthusiast, but that was like kind of did that now I can retire kind of cycling moment. I didn't really, you know what, it's weird how I have these plateaus, I'm like, okay, I'd like to get to this point, and then unfortunately when you do achieve that thing, then you're like, oh, you know what now? You know when you complete a computer game? I don't play computer games. I'm doing proper adult stuff. I don't know what you're on about. Tell me about the bike thing. Get back to your point. Back to the bike. Right, the bike. The bike is that is a repair bicycle. So that the idea would be to try and provide services that make cycling, if you like, an active life without using any reference to that awful campaign, and how patronizing and absurd it is. But realistically, people cannot do such a thing under any kind of silly posh people pressure without the facilities and the infrastructure to do it. So Velanova would be a way to, on a grand scale, make bike repair a premium thing, premium bicycle valet. What's wrong with your bike? We'll deal with it. We'll get you back on the road in a quick and efficient way. Sometimes going and getting your bike and bringing your bike, delivering your bike, repairing your bike on site, or taking your bike to another bike shop to get a thing done, whatever it is. Just whatever it takes to get people who are stuck for some reason with their bike and get the bike on the road, and then make sure that they are also well. So you see, we're trying to put together the basics of bike maintenance and e-bike maintenance with human wellness and human mobility. Well, that makes jolly good sense, and it's a holistic business, as you say. It's not that's an all-round net positive, I would say. Thanks, man. Yeah, exactly, a net positive, and it would be a net positive on your holistic business too. If you want to add on, very easy to get a few skills, add on a little bit of basics, and remember that it's a valet, right? So the market, I would say, is changing to bikes being very high tech in isolated parts of the bike, which will require specialist maintenance and such. But the overall bigger vehicle just needing a little bit of valet treatment, like so laborious, kind of thankless tasks, but again, quite high revenue generation when spread out over a lot of work and added on and again tacked on to other work makes a lot of sense. So jolly good. That's another good capitalist maneuver there. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, better explain what the whole grassroots thing's all about then, and how that links in with Pilates. Have you not sort of discussed that already, or perhaps maybe a little bit more deep dive on it? Well, look, mate, I'll just mention it while I'm here. So, grassroots, while not in politics, so my suggestion to people who are trying to run in politics and become an independent politician, you must have a set of revenue streams to keep you going while you're not in the elected seat you want, right? Now, the way to occupy yourself and keep yourself working in a useful way, one of the ways I would put forward is this thing: run a branch of a gig economy pedal worker union. So the gig economy is a really unionless state of very unrepresented workers and workers that need a lot of support and solidarity and need really to be unionized. And the way to take this on, because there's such a vast number of folk, right, is that we say we've got branches. Now, there are other brands within Holism Incorporated that we'll talk about later on that work along a branch basis and a patch basis as well. So the geography of this is really how you deal with the whole franchising overlap, whose territory type thing, right? But critically, you'd want to look for about $3 a month from a member to get a reasonable level of commitment and interest and paying attention and a sense of connection, really. Do you know what I mean? So, although those that just can't afford anything at all, that's legit. You might want to make space for that. But like, make your entry about $3 a month for this thing. For me, the license to use the term and to again benefit from all that marketing, but like a sort of license to sell the big issue or something like that, really. It's not, it's a very modest amount of money, $50 flat amount, and that is to guarantee that if seen as a political donation at any point, it's below the threshold of needing to report anything, and I'm above board for my candidacy, and you're above board for your candidacy, right? Because assuming that you'd be in your branch somewhere in the world where I'm not running too, if you were just down there, that would be a bit of a disappointment. But um, so the grassroots human traffic workers union represents people who don't have a lot of representation right now, and generally, this is the sort of bit that will be a bit triggery, maybe, is to say that this is only for people on bicycles who are pedaling on bicycles. Okay, let's move on to the next slide and we'll keep chatting. Because obviously, the pedaling bit, the workers who are pedaling, catering to workers who are doing something physically demanding, you can hopefully see and understand the obvious need for Pilates and the benefit for a Pilates business to have an interest in this. So, not just the saving the planet bit, all right? Next slide. So if you bear in mind that I also suggested in a previous campaign video the proposal of having a tool library that's not a tool for as in hammers and saws and screwdrivers and whatnot. It's like a fitness tool library. So a tool library, the grassroots memberships, one of those perks would be to use the tool library, right? For again, depending on how the numbers work out, it could be either be included in the membership or a discount to the membership, something like that. A perk should be that you can help maintain the physical bodies of the workers using the skill of Pilates or just the provision of these tools. I've proposed here a teacher's course, again, on my members, stuff that I'm selling to professionals or business to businesses where I can get some revenue. Do you know what I mean? As a teacher and as a Pilates teacher doing politics, right? Which is kind of unique, yeah. So Pilates for the urban cyclist would be my proposal. I have this menu in my head. I've had it for about 5 years in my head, to be honest, right? So it's quite straightforward. Could again be a good candidate for a rollout, big scale rollout, and help the branch manager, the branch licensee holder, offer to their members the how to maintain their knees and hips and spines a bit, and also if you can add in all the other stuff, your bike fit stuff, you can start to offer a lot to members. You know what I mean? And then above all, it's the political representation. So you're literally a representative on behalf of these workers in your unelected period. But when you become elected, which you hopefully will, when you become elected, you cannot be the boss of a union. You have to be only representing the elected, your elected people, and not just this third party, this grassroots union at all. So you have to really abandon that union membership if you get elected on the basis of the constitution I've put forward and the principles of how to operate I'm putting forward. It would be straightforward enough to keep yourself quite busy and active in the community running a branch, the union branch. And let me just while we're here quickly just point out how human traffic workers union made up probably largely of immigrant labor who are generally excellent. Listen, I cannot recommend to you more highly to work with those who have the work ethic from a different country, from Great Britain or America or fancy pants parts of Europe and whatever where you're from. People from abroad, in my experience, are very driven and very instinctively good at business and ought to be treated as respected like entrepreneurs and hard workers that they are. To the many who have delivered wonderful food to my door, even if if think about doing that, every single delivery is a hangry person who's clock watching. It's one of the hardest jobs ever. So, like, my thinking is to take this gig economy and to empower them and embolden them with a workers' union and to teach them to take pride in their work and to produce their own platform of revenue streams, help them generate revenue streams to free them, not free them from the gig economy thing, but just make the gig economy thing work properly for us and everyone involved. So a bit of activism, environmentalism, holism, that means implying services to people, all added together. Yeah. What on earth was that? What on earth was that? What the bloody hell was that big thing? I mean, what have I just watched? I don't know. I'm in shock. That was an urban arrow, not the one that's pictured here that I'm kind of gazing at with pure love in my eyes. It's literally like that. That's what mine looks like, all stripped down. Not like that big ginormous one we just shot it. To my knowledge, that is the largest cargo bike available on the market, and it was the first one I got a shot of, which I've now spoiled me for all other cargo bikes. But um, the new idea, the policy overlap, the intersectional thing, the fascinating thing, I guess the thing that holds us all together, holism incorporated, maybe not Renaissance. Renaissance is not dependent on this, but it's kind of part of this, I guess. It's to see if the cargo bike, and I want to be a kind of cargo bike candidate, the the cargo bike was such an inspirational vehicle to me. Thanks to Zedify and everybody at Zedify that gave me a shot of their bikes and let me try them out, let me do some shifts with them, and spend a lot of time lost in Glasgow during those long COVID periods. I mean, really, I drove them absolutely mad. They're so glad to see the back of me. I'm not fit to be a courier. I mean, if I know my way around town, I'll probably be fine at it. Was getting gradually better doing it in the new town in Edinburgh, getting around kind of central Edinburgh, no problem at all. Glasgow, completely lost, absolute nightmare. Oh my god! Listen, I'm rambling. The point is, here's some beautiful bikes. Yes, it's almost like in this picture. To be honest, you got your hands in your pockets. It looks like you're kind of trying to hide a little awkward situation in the trouser department. How dare you suggest that? What? Just from looking at the bikes? Well, maybe it's a buddy called bike porn. Bike porn. Don't say bike porn. That's just gonna kill this video straight away. Well, it's funny though. You know. Bike porn. Look how cool these bikes are. Listen, if you've not a shot of a bike, one of these bikes with some juice in it and it can carry a heavy load. Yes, I bet it's generating a heavy load. All this staring at the bikes and the sort of the smell of the greasy stuff and the tightening screws and things. I love it. This is the bikes. It's fantastic. It's sort of mechanicy stuff. It's brilliant. Thanks, man. Do you mind if I just talk to the audience a wee bit about the benefits of these vehicles and why I'm so obsessed with them? So it isn't it's not a weird thing then. No, it's not a weird thing. No, well, I mean, it is a weird thing. I do love them. But I don't know. It's fantastic. Look, it's the way, to be honest, right? The way I feel about these bikes is the way I feel about Mr. Pilates' inventions, to the Pilates listener, to the holistic listener, to the person that's into reformers and Cadillacs and one of the chairs and the ring and all the rest of it. This is, I think, as genius. There's just like the potential for change, the potential for to be human transport, goods transport, point to point transport efficiently, and to generate as well. And I'll try and move the slide on before trying to sort of return us to a more serious line of thinking. It could really create a canal revolution type shift in our economy in the way that things are. Now, if you don't mind me coining the phrase political, get a wee bit political now, I'll say is thinking about what we currently have in toxic monopoly capitalism is a mass distribution network. It's a distribution network. The cargo bike, I would like it to facilitate a redistribution network. Oh, that's see, that's a total tagline thing. You're taking on my wisdom. See, that's the thing. You got to copy what the bad guys do. Good, I mean, guys like me, and just do the same thing. Try and get good messaging. So you think that this is currently distribution, the stinky sort of wasteful what they call open chains. They say just dump it in the environment, externalities, etc., corporate breathology, and all the rest of it. That's a very astute analysis, mate. Very, very good. What else? What else? Well, yes. I mean, this is more part of a sort of circular economy, isn't it? I mean, you can get more efficiency. It's quicker to get around town, particularly in an urban area, like the name Urban Arrow. What's this energy saving trust? What's that all about? Well, they gave me some money. They actually paid for my first bike. I mean, I really should um, consider myself very lucky because there's some other businesses in town that just didn't get any funding at all, even though they were sort of more established at it than I was. I sort of accidentally became the most successful cargo bike person that I'm aware of because I've actually done a few jobs on them. They haven't paid for themselves. No, they paid a massive net loss. I'm calling this a kind of philanthropic adventure because during the pandemic hit, shut the studio, and I was like, oh Lord, what am I going to do? Oh Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz? Oh Lord, Jesus, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Look, just calm yourself down. Now, come back to the money. Show me the money. What happened with the money? Right, the money. So, some dudes having a hard time getting the funding to pay for these cool bikes because they're very expensive. I'll tell you where mine live. somewhere in the Batcave. And so to the Batcave, Alfred type thing. Yes, exactly, mate. Yeah. So anyway, the Batmobiles are in the Batcave and all that, safely tucked away. There are a couple other businesses in Edinburgh. There's an excellent one in Glasgow. There's one split between Glasgow and Edinburgh. Solidarity, excellent Zedify. Good luck to you. Any help I can be to you, let me know. Despite whatever competition and all that, sort of a bit talks. That's a bit of an issue, isn't it? You've got a free little market, small market, small demand, and you've got to bicker over it. No, that's ridiculous. It's absurd. There's an insane amount of business that had to be done. It's actually just getting the execution bit right. And I think also, for my part, I'd like to offer even more to sort of staff, to make sure staff welfare is really good and make these among the most desirable jobs you can have in the community. If you add the sort of spirit of the freelancer and the sort of spirit of the micro capitalist, is what I am, or the local family business being my ideal form of capitalism. I think that is I think the family business, the freelancer, the inherited family brand and business is a legit thing. I think that you could inherit um, absolutely assets and ideas. I mean, you have to be able to look at the Burns thing. I mean, we don't really get any money from the Burns thing at all. It's not like a thing we're going to start suing for royalties, is it? But the fact that we're connected in family and name is a great blessing, and that obviously has its inherent value all over the world. That's kind of what open sourcing is all about. Oh, don't get all evangelical about your thing. Look, the bikes, the cool bikes, the recent mule, these are German and European made. Is that right? Yes, mate. Yes, mate. They're made in the continent because for some reason we can't get British made stuff to be cool. And this is another problem we'll visit further on in this video. But this sort of overlap, if you like, is the genius of invention, the use of human movement to create locomotion, and then the economic growth and the, just human benefit, inherent human value and benefit from moving things around on these vehicles, like taking people around on little therapeutic little rides around town, Edinburgh town, and there's an unlimited amount of possibilities. It's really exciting. I think they're just really cool. All right, okay, don't sort of don't have a moment of whatever release and whatever. Like, just keep yourself calm. There's plenty more bikes in the universe. There's plenty more bikes. Exactly. There's so many more bikes. I can't even. I just can't get enough of these bikes. Right. Just can't. Why don't we move along then? Right. There's God Almighty. Passionate about the Pilates. Passionate about this and all that. Right. Okay. Crikey. All right. Moving on. Young people progression. It does take a little bit of ambition. It takes a bit of enthusiasm. And I think with cargo bike people, there's some problems, isn't there not? Well, actually, why is it not doing so well? What's happening? This is so great, such a no-brainer. That's my sniff test, the old Tory sniff test, is sniffing out some shite, I think, Mr. Dunn. Let's move you on to the next slide. I've got some convincing needed to be done. Cheers, right, man. So cool bikes. How do you get from cool bikes to Pilates Renaissance or Renaissance of Pilates, whatever it is, whichever way you want to put it, your public health thing? Public health. Get back to the point. Right, yes. So the cool bikes, they require what? Pedaling? Yes, you would have pedaled like Fred Flintstone, little twinkle toes. Get your little toes out and get your little legs pedaling away. And that's the locomotive force for the bicycle. So, well, exactly. So human beings, for me, it's like human labor literally taking back labor from automation, if you like you don't for me it's about trying to create a job that I really want to do and just like go and chill out doing. Like I really did quite enjoy being a courier on some days once I had a clear set of what I was doing, and there's a way I think to create interesting new working lives around those cargo bikes that deploy human locomotion, as you say, and also for the Pilates teacher to generate revenue from catering to the needs of people. So they need to make sure that they're comfortably on a bike, that the bikes are designed in a way that are genuinely healthy as best possible. Is there any Joseph Pilates inspiration that could be utilized in inventing of the bikes, designing of the bikes? This is something I think about and I'm interested. Lots of stuff. It's almost like it's a holistic moment, I think, because it's like a way of fixing lots and lots of problems with a handful of solutions. A handful of solutions. Man, can you just keep it straight for the thing? Look, we're moving on. We're moving on. You're just getting bored. Look, let me just show you what it could look like. All right, right. Okay, fine. Let's move on. So let me show you this. This is some of my original stuff for the Leith Bike Taxi Co-op, which was one of the earliest brands that I came up with in terms of cargo bike utilization in the local economy, in local infrastructure, in ways that can improve our lives, really immediately, even further upgrade us on the quality of lives, the speed and efficiency of our lives, but also the impact on the world around us, in terms of the environment, particulates, as well as burning of carbon dioxide, can all be reduced, eliminated, and significantly impacted positively by switching to these vehicles. I think that the key thing now, I have to say, if anybody was to get in touch about these pictures, I must apologize. It's a non-profit use. Please forgive me the use. If I couldn't get details for their origin, so I just felt okay to use them. They claim to be very, very old, 100 years plus, and so on. So I doubt there's gonna be too much damage from borrowing them. But please let me know. Beautiful imagery here, very inspirational of future, I imagine. Not so much this race, which is a race in Paris on the right hand side of the screen, but more this handsome chap here with his hat and his epic uniform and his gorgeous bike vehicle, which is wide enough, must be about 120, 150, somewhere in that range, because it doesn't look to be as wide as a rickshaw bike. So the rickshaw bikes, I don't have anything against rickshaw bikes. This is not a neg of a rickshaw bike. It's just that there's I think, a preference in my mind to have the driver behind the pilot, the cyclist, the pedal worker, behind the passengers, and for it to be a more luxurious, comfortable experience, to have a sheltered, as you can see, aerodynamic, comfortable, cozy environment for passengers to enjoy a luxurious, world class. I've put here luxury. So the thing is, note the uniform. Note the other gentleman dazzled and impressed. Look, the ladies, this is great, right? And again, this is like a cool job. What I used to love about hospitality at the top level is everyone's sense of pride in how they work. And I mean, how you turn out at work really affects how you deliver the work you're doing. And I would want to have a fleet of independents who, remember, the thing about turning up like that, you're showing up for yourself. If you're a one-man band or you're one-man business, this is what I think is the perfect type of business, because you have to try and deliver. I mean, at least, for example, don't leave typos all over your work in cringe ways. Oh, yes, well, we don't know anyone that does that. That would be embarrassing as hell. I mean, what you need is a little PR team to go and check everything for you, and then you can just get half of the amount of stuff done. But, it wouldn't be with little silly typos. Yes, or what, I mean, if you get to be like where I am, I'm just like, I know that the audience sees stuff with typos all the time now in the modern palette. It doesn't really matter. The last president was just writing words that just don't exist, and it, has been re-elected to stunning, historic shock and awe, really. So again, the standard in politics is where it is. Listen, can we talk about the lovely bicycles rather than the toxic current situation with politics and whatnot? Right, okay. Well, tell me this then. The British weather, have you noticed? What on earth makes you think on earth that any British people would ever want to get in such a ludicrous contraption and risk their safety and go on the roads? And I mean, there's so many other problems with this. It's absolute insanity. Why do you think it's not happening right now? Well, these are all very legit capitalist questions. Ouch, 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 ouch. Let me just answer them all one by one before we move slides. Or will we move slides and keep talking? All right, move slides and keep talking. Oh, crikey, good grief. Right, we're barely moving on then, aren't we? Well, so you said you were going to explain to me the market viability of this thing that just doesn't exist at the moment and isn't working, isn't going to uptake anywhere in the world. Listen, that's not the case. That's not the case. Hear me out, right? The cargo bike itself is on a sort of mixture of growth patterns. I mean, like, to be honest, it's more to do with the fact that poor delivery workers are capable of carrying pretty much anything on their backs with hard work and labor and graft and such. So that's sort of making the cargo bike somewhat redundant at the moment, and it being looking like there's a sort of middle class posh person solution, which is like, oh, tell all the plebs to get on the bikes, and we'll get these nice big fancy bikes for us, and we'll come on them. Whereas it's like, okay, what the market is saying is like, we need all immigrant people, poor people, human traffic worker people, to just haul anything around on garbage bikes, with bikes that are barely legal or get turned away from most bike garages because they're not legal to work on, and just have to struggle on and persevere. And the market's been captured by somebody like Zumo, who's landing it right on the money. I think I'm a big fan of Zumo. I'm not a fan of the cargo bike enthusiasts in general over what's going on in the market wider, because like they're not achieving much, and there's some weird market stuff going on that I'll talk about another day. But this was meant to be looking more about getting humans around by bike. Well, the simple answer is to your questions there, sir. The perfect bike does not exist. Haha, I knew it. It doesn't exist. It does not exist. There you go. Rubbish. Give up. Go home. Haha, get back in your Tesla, your big beast car. That even though it runs on something other than petrol, it's still stinking awful for the environment and for the planet and for getting us anywhere. Ha 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 ha. Big business wins. No, we don't like that. No, 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 no. I would say, and this is what I think I may have designed the bike, some of a bike. And I just would love to hear from a proper bike design person who's not like a little Mickey Mouse, not a bike design person like me, and see if we can design the perfect British bike taxi for the Rebel Bike Taxi Cooperative, which would create a vehicle that would make all of our wildest dreams come true. And it's possible. Comfortable, cozy, high tech. There are fantastic vehicles being made. There's several brands in the UK. There's even an Edinburgh electric motor brand. We have got homegrown talent here. I think that the right legislation, package of support, package of investment, opening up the market, right deregulation, I think we could have the perfect vehicle transporting people from point to point and just taking us into a new future where point to point travel is something we're super comfortable with. There are an abundant fleet of freelancers who will be supported in all the ways that I can maybe suggest here. And again, the Pilates teacher for the Pilates holistic business pain movement therapy science person and transport geek enthusiast understand that currently speaking, bus drivers, taxi drivers, tram drivers all suffer aches and pains and shortened lifespans, and you're having to compensate them huge amounts of huge salaries that's bugging everybody. Because I feel like I'm not to neg any of those roles. These are excellent, excellent, very noble roles in society. But again, like them all, to those drivers, not maybe not so much the trains. I mean, look, the train is an essential part of the picture. I think you know. What I mean, personally, my overall transport policy for the transport policy geeks, interested. I think that these bikes could solve a great, great, great many problems. They're open to solve all problems, and I think the remaining problems would be better resolved with pumping up our rail infrastructure. At the high, this is a higher pay grade than me at the moment, but I think that the for me, what I'd like to try and add into the market, my humble contribution would be designing the perfect British bike taxi. After my experience of doing Pilates as a pain therapist type person, kind of working with people with chronic pain, somebody who did develop a chronic pain and coinciding with a lot of cycling. As I said, it was like a very chronic pain and disease is like it's got layers and layers and layers and layers feeding into it, doesn't it? So for me, I was certainly doing a lot of particular type of movement, and I was creating certain imbalances that made the situation worse anyway. So does that make sense? And so when people are struggling, take for example, one might be suffering from a bowel complaint, bladder complaint, back complaint, pelvic complaint, hip complaint, knee complaint, loads of things from the sitting posture. Static sitting position could be the culprit for the whole load of them. We just don't. We're not. It's impossible for me to say, and I would be non-credible to suggest, whatever blanket type stuff on these issues. But it's essential that common sense applies here, and the wisdom is to if you can create a working life to move not just goods but people from point to point in urban areas, and humans can live more efficiently. Like in my future, we're going to talk about Nomad very briefly. Again, there's a screenshot that I've pinched from some poor soul. I'm just hoping that they'll appreciate the free market and marketing and the fact that I've got abs. I'm an absolute fan, massive fan of design and perseverance, and would love to hear from proper designers, not Mickey Mouse designers like me, who are interested in creating the vehicles of the future. And I think that incorporating human locomotion and incorporating human service of a five-star hospitality level is the way I think to fix the conundrum of business versus green goals. Green goals can align with business goals, and green businesses can flourish utilizing this beautiful, stunning, genius vehicle, the cargo bike. Does that make sense? Shall we move along? Well, to be honest, though, it just sounds like you're saying something that hasn't happened before is going to miraculously happen. Well, I kind of am because technology's here now to make this. So, like a dude, see this poor dude in the suit. I mean, the fact that he's wearing a suit to do it is the thing that I love most about it. I would love for the guys that run this taxi to turn up just like my little mascot dude here with his little hat on and his little tie, looking smart, taxi driver, high level of professionalism, high level of trust, higher level of professionalism and trust than standard taxi drivers. I'm not saying you shouldn't trust taxi drivers. Calm down, calm down. I'm not negging. I'm just saying that the way to get this thing to mainstream market is with high standards. All right. Okay. Well, that's what you mean. So it's sort of like a permanent
premium pitch, a sort of a premium service, premium market. People with money is who you're interested in marketing this to. Yeah, people with money, but also like a community service that would operate in non-profit ways when needed to as well. Do you know what I mean? Um, the point that there's a lot of things you could do with it, right? But you're going to make money. Oh yes, yes, we're going to make money. Yes, can we keep? Can we? Shall we carry on then with the making money? Yes, I'm happy as long as you're confident about making money. Let's keep moving. Thank you. Next slide. Yes, no, 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 no. I mean, I'm confident about the money making side of it. I mean, like it's you're right to say it's the speculation, but like, what is there's not no risk in the best endeavors, is there? That's a good point. That there, this is the Danish family, Danish royal family. That's cool, isn't it? Indeed. So they're actually they have one on their property, I believe, for getting around in one of those beautiful bikes. I had one for a short period of time. I didn't get to ride it really anywhere because it came with some things missing and it wasn't ideal. And it just had to go back, unfortunately. That was a real bummer. And but I adore the bike. It's a wonderful bike. I just wish we were making some in the UK that were much more affordable. I won't tell you the price of that bike. It's an eye-watering amount of money. The price of a small family car. Very pretty reasonable one, actually. Pretty good one. Um, that bike there, the one in the middle that you see there, was like definitely the closest I've found to what I think would be perfect for us here in the UK. I would like to upgrade the weatherproofing, design the perfect bike taxi. This challenge remains as yet, and I would hope to be. I've cycled the whole length of the country doing the Land's End Journal, so I like to just mention that whenever I can. You like to just bring that one up every now and then, just for the hell of it. Yes, yes, absolutely. I brag that I know this country quite well from having cycled through the most gorgeous bits and the most hazardous roads as well. So this is my suggestion for our climate crisis. Oh, yes, I like this. What's that? This is some jazzy marketing music. I love marketing music. Doesn't it just make you feel like spending money and stuff? Makes you feel like aspirational and things. Makes you feel like, this is a good idea. Yeah, I know. Thanks, man. Well, these are just some, if anything, I'm just sort of showing off some branding, marketing type stuff. But yeah, the bike fit component is the link, right? So bike fit is the glue between Pilates teaching and movement teaching and running a gym, or where you've got your Pilates qualifications. However, if you can do that, to try and say like, can we create a menu of stuff that can be provided to help? Can we train a craft that is getting to the healthiest of cycling we can? Most of the cycling studies and cycling corrections that are being made, I think, are really more towards the goal of being very powerful on the bike. Right. So cargo bikes, cargo bikes, cargo bikes, and Renaissance, Renaissance, Renaissance. Right. I'm getting it now. Fair dues. Okay. Look at all these cool bikes. This is the thing. So this is your bike. Is that right? Indeed, mate. Yeah. In fact, this one on the bottom, these couple of pictures on the bottom left, a local artisan joiner manufacturer person put that together for me on spec. So gratitude to them at the open workshop here in Leith. So we built something totally unique, and it has been tremendously functional. I have to say, I'm even by myself. Like, what's interesting is that the Risa Mueller one came out not long after, and kind of was similar. I don't know. I don't know who did who or what. Listen, I'm not saying anybody took anything or copied anything, whatever. It's just logical to have some sort of control left and right stability, but also have additional strappings and fittings and stuff like that. So I'm kind of like I have done some design work. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be fair to say that I haven't done any design. That's a bit negative. I've more like thought about how we can get the best out of these vehicles. So I'm hoping to get a reputation for the cargo bike candidate, if not just what you be the sort of below average candidate. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Project
Yeah.
Nomad. Look, the world's on fire in that one. It was what is this? A doomsday prediction type thing? Well, doomsday prediction is maybe one way of putting it. That's a bit dark, I would say, but like being serious about the fact that there's a growing and ever expanding refugee population in the world, and there's every chance that one of us watching, talking, thinking about this now could just get taken out by the tidal wave that is the climate crisis, the coming climate crisis. And I'd like to make a few propositions on that, suggestions or proposals and things we could do to try and attempt to do something like that. I'd like to create a vehicle known as a Project Nomad. And the Project Nomad will be a way of surviving the climate crisis. Any conditions, one can be survivable. Let me just say, first of all, right, without being sort of Mickey taking about all this, the climate crisis, the climate forecast is so frightening and terrifying. It really should be the only issue that I'm talking about in politics. So, but you will see that its presence, an awareness of it, a conscientiousness of it. I don't want to sound like one of these kind of bunker building types, you know what I mean, survivalist types. But this is something akin to that. I just see a great deal of utility in the formation that this ancient picture, you can see that it's referenced. And again, I hope I'm not using it for any profitable purpose. I hope the non-profit purpose and utility of it will be reasonable. But if any owners want me to take stuff down, it's no problem. I'll just take stuff down. Absolutely fine. Meanwhile, look at the stunning thing that's featured. Look at this amazing thing. I don't know enough about it, but what I do know is inspirational genius and simplicity and ahead of its time future. This is a person who a long time ago was figuring out the future for us. And the one that I've borrowed above, which is a more modern cutout from, again, another post. I don't know the designer, the author. If the designer would want to give me a shout, I'm particularly fascinated by the front part of your vehicle, because my design for Nomad is to have a vehicle up front and a tow vehicle just like this, one up front, one up back, uh, that can pretty much make a human completely mobile. When you add solar power, wind power, maybe a little power plant for the very, very coldest extreme conditions, you got a vehicle that you can park up somewhere, you can store it very safely, secure it somewhere, even put it somewhere in the wild, completely hidden in stealth. And then you've got another vehicle which is quick, mobile, can carry some goods, can get around. So a person can become quite nomadic, but enjoy a very good mobile lifestyle. This is what I want to enjoy, a very nice mobile lifestyle in the future. And technology allows us to be minimalist and sustainable in a way that we never have before. And I find this to be the most exciting journey of the future, the journey to minimalism, away from this toxic consumerism and the sort of possessions and material wealth things that we have to function with. Unfortunately, we have to kind of cooperate with a little bit, but because we don't have an exit strategy. This is kind of an exit strategy from capitalism. Why on earth would you want to exit capitalism? Have you had communist pizza? Communist pizza is absolutely below average. I mean, really, they don't. I mean, they're stingy with the toppings. Tomato sauce isn't very authentic. And as for the base, I mean, it's sort of like a sort of chip shop level base rather than a sort of boutique level base of what we used to here in Leith. Right, mate. Do you mind if we concentrate on the surviving the thing, right? All right. Okay. Thank you. Next slide, then, eh? Happy borrowers again. What are they doing back here? I thought they were doing transport and sort of well-being and stuff. Oh, right. I've sort of answered my own question, haven't I? Yeah, thank you, man. So, if you don't mind, I'll just explain. So, the bike taxi co-op. Think about bike taxis. First of all, quite romantic way to get around town. Edinburgh's a beautiful place. Doing tours. That's mainly what the rickshaw guys do. It's just that they do that in a slightly, I think, it's not as popular. Like, I'd like to offer something that's very safe, mainstream, regulated, and people know will recognize the service and have faith in the service. Not to do them out of work. Hopefully, just convert them over to my model, and then they'll be fine. Um, and it wouldn't be a big uptake for them. I would hope to be super friendly with all market existing players. Do you know what I mean? Not be some sort of destroy the market type people on this front. We're all trying to do something quite important. But my point with connecting it up with the cognitive health brand, Happy Bars, is basically just a way of talking, just very, very mild form of talking therapy, emotional release therapy, helping people overcome the challenges of modern world, toxic capitalism, getting to and from work, getting to and from duties and responsibility. We'd have all the taxi guys, like our taxi dudes, would be sort of trained to do a little bit of like, how's your day going? Oh my god, my day. Let me tell you something. I've had such a hard time with my I don't know, posh person problem. I can't come up with anything off the top of my head. You get it, my first world problem type thing. Look, listen, there's a lot of anxiety. There's a big gap in the market for mental health. We've discussed that in another one, but I just say, like, at the minute, there is a market for well-being rides. At this moment, right now, there is already a market for well-being rides. So it would be natural to have that on the menu and connect the dots here. You can see how you get to something that is like a universal good, a universal public benefit, right? Because The rider benefits, the passenger benefits, the environment benefits. The only people that don't benefit are whom? Big corporation. Well, hang on a minute. I mean, what about what? I thought you were going to make money. I'm here for the money making bit. This isn't it. Well, that would look. My point is, there are services, right? There's service provision. There's hospitality. There's goods and services to transact. There's business to be done. All right. Do we agree? Yes, we agree. Right. Let's hurry up. Move along then. All right. Haha. What you're telling the market, if I try to understand how this whole transport and policy for health, human health, and stuff all links up, it really revolves around these cargo bike vehicles. So people have to own the vehicle somewhere. People have to buy the vehicle, they have to finance the vehicle, they have to store the vehicle, they have to maintain the vehicle, they have to be qualified to run the vehicle. You really make capitalism quite dry and boring of it. Well, it's just how it is. You've got to make money. You've got to sort of pay the bottom line. Somebody's got to be serious. So you've got to do your fancy pants ideas. You've got to just actually make it work and get from the point of having crazy ideas to actually getting them into practice. And I'm not sure you're quite there yet. What's this page here then with all these other fancy logos? These look like more competent businesses, to be honest. Well, that would be the Deliveroo, the Just Eat, and whatnot, man. So they're kind of really, exploiting people, aren't they? Well, I mean, they're sort of making money. Look, mate. Well, see what I'm all about with the Human Traffic Union. See how there's a couple of extra brands, right? These are like add-on services. So at the moment, we've got people doing gig work, and they're already doing it, and they're already struggling and getting by. So what I'm suggesting is to do the same thing, just in a slightly different way, with it less hinging around the apps, to try and take away the power of the apps and give that power to the workers. So the logistics hub, if you like, as a Pilates studio, as a logistics hub, makes a lot of sense. If you have a Pilates studio, you have a space, and it might not be being utilized all the time in lots of different in all the ways, but there may be some operation there where the bike coordination can fit in quite nicely. This little logo I use on the bottom right hand side, where my character avatar, bike taxi businessman, handsome devil with his pink hat on, is looking over a kind of book with a lot of energy coming out of it, sparkling energy, and it's a black hole and a person in a box. Now, that little logo, you'll see it popping up quite a lot, and it's where I'm kind of talking about how to be in business as an eco freelancer. And when I'm teaching you how to be in business as a freelancer, you'll probably see a logo similar to that, because we're really talking about how you, the individual, you, the worker, are responsible for all creation of all wealth and assets that there are. Well, that's absolutely nonsense. I straight away, sorry, I hate to break it to you, but who's got stuff? We've got stuff. If you don't have stuff, you've got not got stuff. Yeah, but how did you get that stuff? What do you mean? How did we get it? I mean, we inherited it. We were, we were in the right place at the right time, and then we just get stuff and go to the bank. It's right there. Yes, mate. Well, I'm trying to point out that that style of economics and capitalism is not all that great for everybody, because like some people need to be productive. We need to do something useful. And we've actually got a lot of things we need to turn around in the world. So, take for example the lovely bicycle rally. Oh yes, I saw that. I like the name of that, lovely bicycle rally. That as well was almost a moustache like my own one, to be honest. Yes, you were the inspiration. You, sir, your presentation was inspiration for the lovely bicycle rally. To be quite posh, actually. Oh, a posh thing. I love the posh things. Why would you do it posh way? Well, so that it makes money. So the thing is that people with money, they don't want to die in the climate fire. Educated people can see doom coming, and educated people will want to jump on this bandwagon. I think once, if I can explain it rightly, the market is a clever thing because it's lots and lots and lots of people thinking at the same time and forming conclusions. But on the other hand, people drink lots of Diet Coke. Ooh, this is all right. Look at you there. Look like Mr. James Bond doing a shaken, not stirred. So that is a shaken marriage, Mr. James Bond. Are you in fact James Bond? No, no, I'm not James Bond. I thought one of my clients was James Bond for a while. You thought one of your clients was James Bond? What do you mean? Oh, just one of my clients who's like an excellent, outstanding person. And you're like, Sometimes people, like, super elite people who are really awesome, you have to kind of, I sometimes wonder, you might be quite connected. You might know some people. It's like, what type of challenge are you actually James Bond? Anyway, no. This is me making up a cocktail for, fancy pants client, whatever. But it's here just to be like hospitality and make a cocktail. The idea is to look at some of these brands and ideas, understand that whether it be Billboard Baggins, or whether it be the Velo Naledi retirement fund, or whether it be the concierge, the Rebel Bike Taxi Cooperative. Fetch is redistribution. Go get the thing, take it for the people, get the marketplace purchases and the secondhand purchases from the local market. The Bike Watch, an extra way to upgrade your security for your bike and actually have people go and get your bike. There's a bit of growth in that area already. Again, I'm a politician coming with political ideas. So these ideas don't necessarily need to run as huge, ginormous corporations. They just need to be disruptors from the sole trader, or from the cooperative, or from the mutual um, side of the economy, old school banking and stuff like that. Non-profit community banking from Velo Naledi. And Billboard Baggins. Don't forget Billboard Baggins. What's the deal with all that then? Well, Billboard Baggins is just like what it says, is billboard. One of the most classic ways to make money, to generate revenue as a business, is with billboarding. And we'll turn you and your bike into a billboard if you want. There's ways of making money in the same way that Deliveroo did. That's what I'm saying. And the small business can do some nimble, interesting things that the big lumbering beast business can't quite manage. Well, I mean, you're quite good at selling your ideas, Mr. Dan. We'll see how it goes. What else do you want to mention before you go? Anything else you want to say? Because I think we've got the idea. You've got the bikes, holistically, lots of different businesses and activities. You create productivity and revenue, and maybe even take people on. Well, wait, hang on a minute. You're going to employ people. How are you going to grow? How are you going to grow this thing? Well, that's a good question, actually. So Holism Incorporated thing works on two set groups. You got a kind of an intern level person. Intern level people can get access to a variety of the assets here, which are included in your membership, union membership. And yet excuse me, just yawning there. What about you got a union membership? So wait a minute, you join the union, and you get the products, you get the assets. Exactly. So like again, that's how you really establish the solidarity. So then, even within the union, you do the training through the Hand Soul Training School. Hand Soul Training School is where you'll pick up the skills that you need to do the various eco freelancing thing. It becomes a little bit like a computer game. It does sound a bit like a computer game. You just have to take them all off and complete at the end, and take the sort of key up to the special door and put it whatever it is. And well, I mean, it's lofty. It's good luck with that. And uh, yeah, well done. You're going to save the planet or something. Maybe that, or maybe it'll just be good making a cocktail. Dear listener, thank you for listening to this rambling and barely articulate person talking about political ideas involving change and upheaval and what did you call it? Renaissance? Yes, Renaissance, mate. Change, like positive about change, not negative about change, excited about change, welcoming change, inspired by change, not just apathy about it. Renaissance. We've done three parts, three-part thing. It was meant to be one thing, and then it became lots of things, and it's all been edited together in a bit shambolically. Thank you for listening to that. Hopefully that clarifies some of my politics, some of my attitudes, some of the origins of my thinking, and where I'd like to take us with these plans. Do get in touch with this madman and try to persuade him from chucking his time and money and effort down the pan with his crazy ideas, and try and get him to do something useful. Thank you for listening. Take care. Any likes and subscribes much appreciated. Bye.